Hello everybody, it's Dan Spearin on Creatortown, and this week our guest is...
Samantha Wan. Like a robot.
I like that. What's that? It's just like interesting. The whole podcast is like that. This weird robot
I just talk like this.
The bar is like simultaneously singing Elvis now.
They're having a great time.
Yeah, now I feel it. Forget this conversation. Hello, Internet. Welcome to the podcast party for digital creators. Every week is a celebration of creator collaboration right here on Girth Radio, which means we're hanging out at the Pacific Junction Hotel right in the center of Creatortown. I'm your host, Dan Spearin from the Independent Web Creators of Canada, and with me, like always, is YouTuber, podcaster, and frankly, a guy who spends far too much time on Twitter. It's producer Vince Casavamurthy. Hello, sir.
Hello, Dan. I do spend way too much time on Twitter.
We're taking it away from you. It's okay. Vince, not only do we have an amazing guest this week, but I have all the news. All of it.
All of it?
All of it. The TOWeb Fest selections were announced. We have over 60 amazing digital projects that are going to be showcased at TOWeb Fest May 25th through the 27th. And what we're probably most proud of is we have entries from everywhere. Mumbai to Montreal, Argentina to Australia, Brooklyn to Buenos Aires, from the Ukraine's Kiev to our Kiwi friends in Auckland, whether you're hanging out in New Brunswick or New Jersey, North Hollywood to North York, Vancouver to Tel Aviv. TOWeb Fest 2017 has an amazing international list, and it's going to be an amazing international web fest. This party isn't just for selections, it's about building a creator community all over. So we better see you there. No excuses. Come to Toronto. We're going to show this country how digital does it up. But let's welcome them all to Creatortown. And speaking of welcoming people to Creatortown, Vince, let's hit the bar, grab our guest. Kids, it's Samantha Wan.
Wu family protocol. Personal pride is very important in Chinese culture, so me asking for space for my mom is going to be big. There's going to be a lot of silent judging.
Soup getting cold. Come in.
Sounds like pretty loud judgment to me.
Samantha Wan, kids. Yay.
Hey.
I have not seen you for a while, so it's good to see you again.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thanks for having me.
For those folks who aren't as familiar with Sam as we are here in Creatortown, Samantha Wan is an amazing creator who not only has spent time in the web series world, she transitioned successfully to television last year with the City TV show Second Gen. So today we're going to delve into her life at OMNI doing a web series, how to transition to Kinda TV, how to do things just in general like acting, and what it's like hanging out with Brandon from 90210.
It's a lot, guys. Yeah, it's true.
All the things we can talk about today. So now you're a bona fide TV name. You know, you're not, you've crossed over to the dark side.
Yes.
Sellout.
Oh, so happy, though.
But let's start when you didn't make money.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go back to, like, Sam Wan 101, which is, what made you want to get into the entertainment industry in general?
What made me want to get into the entertainment industry? It's so funny because I'm so used to doing interviews and you have to repeat the question so that they can edit it out.
Sam, let's successfully try to have a conversation today.
Great, I'm doing good at this already, guys. I got into the entertainment industry. Originally, I was into dance and music. And therefore, they were having a musical at my elementary and then middle school. And I thought, well, if I can dance and I can already do music, maybe I should act. And I fell in love, became Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz as my first role ever.
Nice. Wow. And you were 30? So you're at like 8 or whatever? We're talking like a kid? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was a little kid. I was also like second place Dorothy. There was a better Dorothy. It was sad.
Wait, were you Dorothy's stand-in?
We had alternating days
okay.
where I got to be Dorothy one day and the other girl got to be Dorothy, but I didn't get the good days, guys. I got like the matinees. So it was sad, but it maybe gave me my ambition to like work harder and be better than the Dorothy now. Because I'm like, whatever, girl. I'm actually in the industry.
Yes. I played the lion in the grade 7 French version of The Wizard of Oz. So it's like, you know, nous avons, vous avez, ils ont, elles ont. Like, it's just like, yeah, so that was a weird experience in life. But yeah, it's like, true. Like, those little experiences when you start out. So you hit Toronto. You're kind of like, I'm sure, like a lot of us, where you're like, you didn't have work. You need to do something. So is your first on-camera role, like, web series stuff? What is the first entry point into your acting career on screen?
Guys, I went classic. It was a horror film.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
old. That's CanCon 101.
Yeah, like super classic. I went, I was in a horror film called The Devil's Mile.
Okay.
And fun fact, both Amanda, who's my partner in Second Gen, we were both in that movie, and that's
Okay.
how we met.
So you and Amanda Joy were both in The Devil's Mile.
We were both in The
So
Devil's Mile.
set your IMDb, kids.
Yes.
Yeah, we both got locked in a trunk together. For
like
reals.
you do. Did they forget about you and go to lunch?
No, but they didn't realize that the trunk locked automatically.
Oh, well, that's
They
that's
closed
fun.
it, and they were
That's
like, "Where
creepy.
are the keys?" And it was, of course, it was indie, so it was like just a car with a really big trunk. Like, it wasn't like fake. They just really actually put us
I
in the
envisioned
trunk.
it like as the tickle trunk, and they just went full Canadian on it, and you're just like locked in a thing that they're just dragging around. So wait, so you were locked in a trunk.
Yeah.
Like, you got out, obviously, and
We
went on
did.
to great things.
Yes.
You do a lot of web series. We're going to talk about web series in a bit and making your own. But first, I want folks to get to know you at home. For those of us who don't know Samantha Wan, we're going to play our favorite Creatortown game. It's the 6. You get 6 questions, 3 from Vince, 3 from me. Do your best to answer correctly or lie, because we're not going to fact check. I'm not going to lie to you.
Best.
It's there are no fact checkers. We don't have the budget.
No.
It's a Canadian podcast.
I could be Trump.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can. Literally.
Yes.
You can Kellyanne Conway your way through this entire thing.
Everything's huge.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Producer Vince, question number 1, or do you want me to take it?
You can take it.
Ooh, look at that. See, so Canadian.
I'm gracious.
Sam, where did you grow up as a kid? And part 2 of that question is, do you think it shaped what you've written and how you've written things?
I grew up all over the place. I was born in Kitchener-Waterloo. Then I moved to Beijing when I was 5. Then I moved to Taiwan for a year after that. And then I went to Vancouver, where I had kind of what I say my formative years, so like middle school, high school. And then I went to Montreal for NTS, where I went to school, and now I'm in Toronto. So I was a bit of a globetrotter growing up.
Oh, yeah.
And I definitely think it's informed how my views on art and culture and my own creation. I think I was very, very lucky because I was an expat that I got to see a lot of different cultures from all around the world. So it really opened my mind up to see how differently people created and different art and stuff like that. I was very fortunate. My parents too were very into theater. And so I think diversity has always been a thing on my mind, and I've never thought, oh, just Canada, just the U.S. is the only way we create. I've always been exposed to other kind of art and stuff like that. So I think it was highly influential.
It's funny when people talk about, like, how, you know, you grow up, and one of the things that I notice about, you know, Canadian television, American television, and we talk about this a lot, actually, you and I, Vince, is that idea of, you see so many shows that feel like white folks watched television growing up and then wanted to, like, remake that show. And you're just like, there's no perspective on, like, I'm not getting anything out of this. This is like somebody watched a cop show growing up and now created a cop show. And I feel like that's part of when we talk about diversity, people focus on skin color or they focus on, but it's like, no, it's like perspectives. We have such a myopic, I feel like, cultural lens sometimes in TV and film.
I agree, and I think different cultures have different value systems.
Oh, that's
For
interesting,
example, like in Asia, honor is a big deal. Sorry, it's not as big deal in America. like
No.
when we put like honor in a movie, that's like a legit stake. Whereas like you put honor here, and we're like, who cares? Like
Yeah.
that's not a legit stake.
Honor's that thing that gets in the way of capitalism.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, right. Also, family is a big deal over there, right? You would never betray your family. It's like here, I'm leaving home.
Yeah.
Like it's different. You see different values and stakes and stuff in storytelling in other places because they just value different things culturally.
Cool. Question number 2 for me. What show creators inspired you to get into entertainment?
I'm gonna have to like name current show creators because I'll be honest. Before maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I didn't understand what show creators were. I was like, TV, it's made, the
So
actors.
you legit became a showrunner almost, like, you know, in lack of a better term, on web, and then and then actually on television, and
Yeah.
you didn't really like think of it as a form, if you will.
As a job, I
Yeah.
didn't know it was a job.
Oh, that's really interesting. So you were really like learning on the fly then when you did it.
Yeah.
okay.
I'd never heard of what a show. I feel bad saying that weirdly. I'm like, I'd never heard what a showrunner was because I was such an actor, and then now I'm like, wow, it's so great to be the creator, and I really owe that to like I think people like in the like creator actors like Tina Fey and Amy Schumer, Mindy Kaling, Aziz Ansari, like those people I think are paving this way of creator performers, mostly in comedy. It hasn't happened in drama yet, and I'm curious about that. But I think they are really encouraging me in a path or direction that I'm trying to go in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting when you said it's kind of happened in comedy first, because I feel like it always like that idea of a showrunner comic is so familiar, so you end up with those kind of folks coming through the gate first, but then it's slower for drama.
Well, you are creating your essentially your art form, and you're performing it as well. You're writing it, you're performing it, all that stuff. And I think the mindset to click over is easier than when it is with drama, I guess.
I think because a lot of almost everyone I think I've named, maybe not. I could be wrong. I don't know about Tina Fey and Mindy Kaling, but a lot of them have done stand-up. So if you're used to like you write your own jokes and then you perform them, going from stand-up to performing in your own show isn't as big a leap. Whereas most people who write drama don't necessarily go out and then perform drama for people. Like that's
true.
Even
that's a
Mindy
stretch.
Kaling, who like cut her teeth on The Office, and Tina, who was obviously the head writer of SNL, right? You've got like situations there where you're steeped in learning how to do a show, even while you're around it. And
Yeah.
that's what I think Canada lacks, is the opportunity for people to sort of incubate in different places, sort of get, like, because you don't have really, there's not very many long-running shows. I'd be interesting to, not to throw them under the bus, but I'd be interested to see how many diverse people are on Heartland that's run for, like, however many years. Like, because that would help, right?
11
like,
seasons,
11
I think.
seasons.
Yeah.
It's something crazy. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
longest-running thing we've got right now.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get harder now to get people to get opportunities because of the whole system of 6 out of 10, 8 out of 10.
So knowing that question, or answer, I should say, let me ask you this. How much of that character in Second Gen, which is your television series, tell people a bit, actually, first. Let's set up Second Gen. So give me, like, the, like, basic gist of what the show is all about.
Second Gen is about second generation 20-somethings and their immigrant families. It's mostly based around two best friends, Jen and Mo. They're actually both named Jen, but for sake of clarity, we've called Mo as a nickname, but that's why it's Second Gen, you guys. It's a pun, kind of. Like,
That's in your TV guide, by the way, in parentheses. That's why it's got Second Gen, guys.
It's a pun, kind of, get it? Ha!
With emojis.
Exactly. But it's really two best friends moving out and experiencing all their firsts together. And then it's from the lens of someone who's second generation, so you have immigrant parents, meaning your parents immigrated here and you were born here. That's our definition of second gen. There's a lot of debate whether like we're third generation, but for our sake, we're second gen.
I
Means
will
your
not
parents
argue
immigrated.
you. As a white dude, I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah.
So when you look at Second Gen, now you've got a little, you've had some time to like talk about it. Obviously, you've gone through the press. When you look at your character, how much of that character is you?
I would say Mo and Jen are both me, and equally Mo and Jen are both Amanda, my partner. I can tell you what parts of Jen are definitely me. I think Jen's A-type personality has come from me. I tend to play some very neurotic characters. Whether people want to say I'm neurotic, maybe. But Jen is definitely, you know what, Jen is me when I was in my early 20s. In the sense of like a perfectionist, in this idea of what adulthood was going to be, and that she had to reach this goal, and once she reached it, like life would be great. There's a joke we have where she's like, I was the Beyonce of my school, like where she you know, she like
Weren't
rocked.
we all?
Yes.
Weren't we all?
Where she, you know, she rocked her life in high school, and then graduated and was like, how do I get an A in life? And there is no grade system, and has a hard time figuring that out. And I think that's been taken a lot from me, and luckily I think I've learned from that now. So Jen's really myself in my 20s.
The show's you know, it takes a lot of the millennial experience, right? Of, I think, a lot of us crashing kind of hard after school.
Yeah.
The question I'm kind of curious about is, when you added the element, like, when you add a second generation element, do you think that there's more pressure on the success angle of things, so it was a harder fall from grace? I mean, because I think a lot of us millennial types all had that problem of, like, where are the jobs? How am I going to get a house? All these benchmarks for, like, adulting weren't really that easily unlocked. Achievements were not unlocked very easily. Do you think it's worse, or do you think it's just a different experience?
I do think it's actually kind of worse. Well, because if you imagine, right, your parents... Sorry, Dan, I don't know your parents, but, like, in the sense of...
Don't make me imagine them. I've repressed them for so long. I'm working it out in therapy.
Like, the older generation already has this idea of what the economy was when they were growing up.
for
You know,
sure.
you went out, you worked hard, you got a job, you got married.
Pound the pavement, kids.
Exactly. So that older generation already has that idea. Now, take... someone pointed this out to me. I thought it was brilliant. Your immigrant family, so let's say my family from China, they leave China in the 60s, and they have the idea, you know, you work hard, you get a job, yada, yada, and they come here to Canada, and they have the same expectations of, like, you work hard and yada, yada, yada. And they hold you true to the expectations of China in the 60s. Not China now. Like, at least your parents who are living here, they can see how times are changing in Canada, and they're like, oh, I really see how life is different. But immigrant parents who come over, they're still stuck in the same time period that when they immigrated. So it's so funny because I've had friends be like, no, but we don't do that here. And they're like, well, back home, that's how we do it. And no, back home, that's not how they do it. They've also progressed. But that immigrant family, your immigrant parents are still stuck literally in the 60s in China. It's a place that doesn't exist anymore.
Right. So their lens is, like, basically a time warp.
Yeah, their lens is a time warp. So at least if your parents are from here, they can see how time is changing. But I feel like immigrant parents are more stubborn about how things should be because they don't know that, like, things have also progressed back home.
So do you think that's where that, you know, we talk about the helicopter parenting idea, and you see that a lot in second gen, where, you know, you leave home and it's just, like, not acceptable and they're so worried about you. Is that, do you think, like, does that heighten that sense, do you think, then? Is it the idea of, like... It's not like what it was in the 60s, and now we've got to protect our kids? Or is that just old school parenting where they can't let go?
I think it's cultural. I think that there's a big cultural difference, I think, in like in Asian cultures, and I know many other cultures, where the kids stay at home until they get married. Like, it's much more common here to move out. Whereas in China, you stay home until you get married, and also once you're married, then your parents come live with you. There are no old age homes. Right. So that kind of helicoptering, I think, yes, is generational, but I really think it's hugely cultural, which makes it more difficult too.
And if you've been through the healthcare system, you'll know that you're going to live with your parents no matter what culture you're coming from. Boomers are going to break that thing. Your mom is living in your basement no matter who you are listening to this.
True that.
So, what's one thing people are surprised to learn about you?
What's one thing people are surprised to learn about me? I'm afraid of fish. I have an irrational fear of fish.
Wait, what?
Wait, what? You have to elaborate on that.
See, guys, I was right. You're surprised.
Yeah.
You truly, no. So wait, if I brought you fish and chips, is that a problem? Or is it like moving fish, like alive fish?
No, if you brought me fish and chips, it's not a problem because it doesn't look like a fish.
Okay.
If you brought me a dead fish, it'd be a problem.
Oh.
That's actually our parting gift today for coming on Creatortown. So that's really unfortunate for you.
That's rough, guys.
So, fish in all, like, if somebody had an aquarium...
Yeah, I'm not into it.
Really?
Like, goldfish, guys, are freaking weird. And,
wow.
But I'm not afraid of octopus, sharks, stingrays, nothing that could actually hurt me, but I am afraid of, like, tiny fish.
Huh. Really?
And, like, big fish.
Medium-sized fish. This becomes a Dr. Seuss book that terrifies you.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Redfish and bluefish, also scared?
All of them. They have eyes like the devil. This is what I'm telling you.
Segueing from that to the obvious question of, do you prefer acting or writing?
Yes.
I originated as an actor. This is what I say. If I thought I could just be an actor and have great roles that I would be casted in, I would be an actor. But I don't think that's a real possibility right now. And what I do like being about a writer is to be able to create stories. I would say, like, if someone offered me an acting role and I didn't write it, I would take it. If someone offered me a writing role but I wasn't allowed to direct it or act in it, I would consider it.
Yeah.
I would have to second guess. So whether that means that I like acting more or writing more, I don't know. I like writing to be the creator, but if I thought acting could actually be a viable option, then I'd take it.
Final question.
And the final question is, what was the hardest thing about making second gen?
Everything. What was the hardest?
Was there like a thing that happened to you that you were like, I didn't see this coming as a problem? Take your time. She's filtering things. I can't talk about that out loud.
Yeah, I am filtering.
Yeah.
It's totally true. I'm like,
I can't say that out loud.
Okay.
That'll make me never work in Canada again.
No. It's surprising. I have had some bad experiences, but honestly, not as many bad experiences people I think expect me to have. Time. It took a long time for it to come off the ground, and even so, people tell me it was incredibly fast. Right? It took me 4 years to get second gen off the ground, and that's very fast. That's very fast. A lot of resilience. I think the best measure I have for when something is worthwhile is that I've probably cried for at least 2 days before I have to do it.
Fair enough.
Before I had to pitch at the Banff World
it.
Media Festival, when I had to write the grants for things, like, I just cried so much. And every time it's turned out to be great.
That's the bar for you. You're like, oh, it's good. I'm crying for a couple days. Clearly, success is the next corner.
So far, that's been my measuring stick.
Well, that's good. When you started out doing, I want to hear something that I'm interested in because, so full disclosure, I helped you on second gen doing social and things like that. I'm sorry, on Sudden Master, which was, and when you were working on Sudden Master, which was your web series for OMNI, tell people a bit about Sudden Master really quick.
Sudden Master is a kung fu series that I created. I am a martial artist. That was the other thing I was going to say. People are surprised to hear that I'm a martial artist and a fourth generation martial artist. And it's about a girl who inherits her father's studio and then has to defend the family title in an underground battle. And OMNI I had approached OMNI about creating something for them, and they said they had no money for TV, so I said, how about I make you a web series? And they were game. So we made OMNI's first original web series.
So what's really interesting about this is that while you were doing the web series, you already had second gen like in slowly moving through the pipeline, right? Like, so it wasn't like web necessarily led to TV. It was kind of simultaneous.
Yeah.
Who came up with that idea? Like, were you like, well, I'm clearly going to be waiting 2 years for this television show, so I might as well do something? Or did it just come naturally? It
came naturally. I was at the Banff World Media Festival pitching second gen.
Okay.
And I pitched second gen to OMNI. But OMNI took too long to act on it. And
which is the same parent company, right?
Yeah.
It's just like Canada, like, oh dear God. Okay, all right, yeah.
No, but at the time, CBC had second gen.
Oh,
or we were pitching CBC. So OMNI took too long. Don Ferguson Productions took second gen, and we pitched it at CBC. So when OMNI came back to me later, I was like, oh, you can't have that show anymore, but let me make you something else.
Oh, I see.
And then second gen was just like sitting, waiting for a long time. So I was like, well, that's not going anywhere. Let's make a show for OMNI.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then I think these are like big guesses, but it couldn't have hurt. I don't know if it helped, but it definitely didn't hurt that I made Sudden Master. OMNI was really happy with what I had made. And so all the people at Rogers already knew who I was. They knew that they liked my work. So when second gen was on the table, they were like, well, we know she can make stuff.
Yeah.
So,
she's not going to burn the pile of money we give her, so that's good.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that was the reason it happened, but I don't think it hurt. Like, when people ask, like, how were the two connected, I do think they were connected in some way. But we were pitching second gen beforehand, and, like, Amanda, my partner's writing, and Don Ferguson, they were great.
So when you did Sudden Master, Amanda was not involved in that, correct? That was just you.
That was just me.
Right. So then, when you get the web series on the go, so let's wonk out here for 1 second, because part of this has to be educational for the creators of tomorrow, and that part is you got Bell Fund, correct? Mm-hmm. And that is what for the kids at home?
So the Bell Fund offers 2 digital tiers that you can apply for. You can apply for a low budget or a higher budget. don't apply for the higher budget, guys, because you're going to be going against Big Brother.
Yeah.
So we applied for the low
She doesn't
budget.
mean that in the conspiracy theory means. She means the actual show, Big Brother.
Yeah, exactly. So we went for the low budget, and that means you could get a limit of $100,000 to make your show. The only thing with Bell Fund money is that you have to have a broadcasting license.
Yeah.
And that's the tricky bit. A broadcasting license means that a broadcaster, is giving you money from their envelope, from their budget.
Right.
Because, and this works with all other grants like OMDC and stuff like that. They'll only give you a percentage of what you're already getting. No one will give you 100% of your budget. They'll be like, we'll give you 70% of your budget, but where's the rest of your money coming from? So that's how the Bell Fund works. They'll give you, the low budget Bell Fund will give you $100,000, and you have to have a broadcasting license to be eligible for it.
So you get the Bell Fund, which means, hey, this is getting closer to actually getting made. What are the hurdles once you get to set? Or how do you complete the rest of that funding? And then B, once you get to set, what's the hurdles making that show?
So our funding was much smaller than we'd hoped. So we just worked off the broadcasting license and money that we got and the Bell Fund. And then the biggest hurdle from there was, how do you make an action series with so little money?
Right.
Action is incredibly hard to make. We had as many cuts in our web series that was only 30 minutes total as a feature film.
Yeah. And that's what people don't realize, right? Is you really do. It's like an entire different production model than you probably suspect when you're like, I'm going to make something short. But the work is really hard because you have to frame it and make it look more expensive than it really is.
It's true, and action specifically, that was the hardest part for me for making Sudden Master, was that I didn't realize how difficult shooting a kung fu movie or a kung fu show would be.
Yeah.
And expensive. Like stunt actors are double, triple what a regular actor costs.
So you just hurt people then. It's like, sorry, Jimmy, you're 22, you got to break into the industry somehow. You're taking this pratfall for the team.
Yeah.
So, like, that show did really well. I remember being around then, and Rogers was definitely really happy with it. For those who don't know, like, that's the same family media company. So Rogers owns OMNI and City. So after I leave your little boat, and it keeps sailing, and Amanda Joy and everyone joins you, and you're about to do second gen, tell me about the process just before second gen and how the filming for that went, and what were the differences outside of all of a sudden you had like $5 more?
Yeah, here's $5 more to make your TV show. So our whole second gen team was already created before, like during Sudden Master. We were actually, when I started Sudden Master filming it, I found out that we got development for second gen. The biggest difference that I found between Sudden Master and second gen is the broadcaster is a lot more involved.
Oh, really?
A lot more.
I don't believe it. So when you're doing a web series, it was kind of hands off, you found?
Yeah.
And then when you got a TV show, not so much?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing. It's a good thing, like in the sense of like Sudden Master were like, are we flying blind? But it was great because we had more freedom. Second gen, television has much more stricter guidelines in the sense of you make a thumbnail. You get that thumbnail approved by a broadcaster. Then you take that thumbnail, you break it in a room, you get the outline approved by a broadcaster. Then you take that outline, you write its script, and you get the script approved by the broadcaster. Sudden Master, we just wrote the scripts and made it, and there were no notes, really, except for like small things once it was made. Whereas like we get notes on every step of the process, which is what is to be expected in all television. That was the biggest difference in development. And then being on set, that was like kind of the same.
Yeah, I guess not.
Yeah.
What was the experience like going through from the television standpoint? It was a long process that you said, but when you actually got to camera, you shot really, like, it was a tight schedule, right? Like, you did not have a long time to shoot. So was that hard?
Yeah, that's why I was like, yeah, it's about the same shooting.
Yeah, it really. So yeah. Tell people a little bit about that process, because I think people would be shocked to hear television in Canada it's a sprint.
Yeah, I mean, we worked with a smaller budget. So some bigger shows, like I'm on another show right now, Private Eyes, and and that show will shoot episode by episode. But we block shot. We shot it almost like a feature film, I would say. So everything that happened in the girls' apartment, we shot together. Everything that happened in the game store, we shot together. Which is only doable if you have all the scripts done beforehand.
Right.
The reason that you shoot television is like, we're only going to shoot episode 1 now, and then episode 2 once we're done shooting episode 1 is because episode 2 is maybe not written yet.
Right.
So
you have money on those shows to actually be paying like the team of writers to be working on next scripts. So it's like, but I think your model is going to be what the model is going to be for anyone listening to this podcast who might, start moving the way up from short form content to longer form content. I think you're going to see, or I hope anyways, that you see a few more broadcasters jump into that, 6 sort of episodes of something.
Yeah, I think
we need more content.
I think it's a smaller risk to do 6 episodes and have them written so they know they like the scripts. I also don't really know how. I'm so curious how Amy Schumer does it, or people who are the actors and the writers when they're writing at the same time as shooting, because it would be impossible for Amanda and I to write the scripts and be acting at the same time.
Right.
Guys, I burped. That's why I said sorry.
That's okay. No one's going to judge you here.
I just like to narrate for the audience listening, so that they feel included.
Vince probably has it on video. You're fine.
Yes.
That's the only part that's going to go out this week.
Yes.
It'll be your Creatortown moment. I just want forget your burp. The bar is simultaneously singing Elvis now.
They're having a great time.
Yeah, now I feel forget this conversation. We're looking back to this. Okay, so back to your life. What is you were saying about the idea of the shoot time and how it all turns around, but I really think it'll be the model. You did 6. Mm-hmm. What would you do if you could wave a magic wand? Was there anything that if you could tell Sam from 2 years ago? Would you give her any advice, or is it all you're happy with how it went and you learned and that's life?
And I can't change any circumstances. I can only give myself advice.
Yeah. What would you change? Now I'm curious about that. I'd get rid of my whole cast.
Yes.
Oh, no.
No, I would just get more money.
I would rob a bank.
I would somehow get more money.
That makes sense.
I would tell myself, it's such cheesy advice, don't sweat the small stuff. That, it's going to work out how it's going to work out. I think the thing that gave me the most stress, and I think that gives a lot of creators stress, is you have a certain vision, a certain way you want something to work out, and then if it's not, you lose your mind. And it never is going to work out exactly how you imagine, because there are other people in the process. And to kind of let go of that is really gratifying. And sometimes you get better things than what you thought, and sometimes you get worse things. But it's not your baby anymore once you give it up to other people to create, and that was hard.
Yeah. It's interesting, I think especially if you write your own thing, it's that idea of you have to be somewhat malleable into what you're willing to let go of, because I just a million famous writers have said this, which is nothing is ever as good as it is the first moment you conceive it, and then afterwards you're oh, every moment's a slow death of that original vision. You're just
That's true, yeah.
And you just hope that you get to the final step where it's somewhat resembling what you had in your imagination 3 years previous.
Totally. And I think also if you're in it, it's wow, my face is on this. It's I'm literally playing this character, and people are going to assume this character is me, and the character isn't entirely me, or the character is different, and people assume this is fully based off my life, but it's actually based off all the writers' lives. Mm-hmm. So
how many people are on that show writing?
Right now, this season it's 4 of us: myself, Jeff, Carly, Amanda, and in season 1, 2, our producer Kevin was also writing, but he's taken on more producing role this year.
Okay, so since we're going to pause our little conversation because we have to help other people, we have to make sure they get Bell funding at some point in their lives. It's time for our shoutouts, everybody. This week's shoutouts brought to you by Dan and Vince. Dan and Vince, still in this podcast studio listening to Elvis.
And Elvis,
there you go.
Yeah.
It's Elvis. It's brought to you by Elvis and the bar that really loves him behind us.
Thanks, Elvis.
There you go. Vince, start us off. Where are we going first?
First, we're going to Moncton, New Brunswick. A YouTube shout-out to Jeff's Musical Car, where each week...
I love this show.
Hey, now all of a sudden there's no Elvis.
Yeah, Jeff's Musical Car ran Elvis over.
Yeah. Oh, man. Jeff's Musical Car.
So Jeff's Musical Car is this amazing show, right? Where it's literally like a guest in a car.
That's right.
And he just drives around and they play music for Jeff.
Yeah. They're playing music inside the car, then there's an interview, and they're driving around New Brunswick. It's actually pretty cool. And it's got a pretty cool theme song. And
Wait, I have that theme song.
Yes, play it.
Hey everybody, what's that sound? It's a musical car. It's the hit sensation across the nation with an up-and-coming star. You see me riding every day, I'm never too far. It's just musical car.
And so he's already done 250 episodes as of January, and he wants to do 1,000 episodes. And so support him.
Get Jeff to 1,000.
Yes.
There's some amazing things on that though. Like in that series on YouTube, check it out on YouTube. Jeff's Musical Car. But like Fred Penner's on it, just hanging out in the back seat of a car once. But then the best one of my favorite ones is Natalie McMaster. You know, the fiddle player.
Yeah.
She does like a giant ass fiddle in the back of his seat. She's just like going to town, and it's just he's just driving. It's a really it's like James Corden.
Yeah, his musical guest.
Except with actual instruments and not lip syncing. So
Yeah.
it's a funny little twist, and he might have been doing that before even. So I mean, it's a cool show to watch. I love that. That's a good shout out. So shout out this week to Jeff's Musical Car. Check it out. Good old New Brunswick. Here's another one that I want to see. This is what I want to see more of in general, because this is what the web can actually do for people. And everyone thinks about the web, I think, in this big way of like, I'm going to reach everyone in the world. But where it actually is quite effective is if you take it to a local level. So there's a thing called the Niagara Podcasters .org, and it's legit. Niagara region has a bunch of podcasters. They get together and they promote their region, their local talent, all of that stuff. So it's a local network of storytellers in Niagara, Canada. This is from their website, niagarapodcasters.org, who want to help people understand Niagara through spoken word. They host shows, but give people tips, share interviews, otherwise interesting conversations that shed light on the distinct character of Niagara region. With all of local television getting chopped by broadcasters, with all of these things disappearing into the ether, I really feel like it's up to citizens, sadly, to start showing that they can take on personal media themselves, and then hopefully the grant system will follow and actually start helping these people out. But NiagaraPodcasters.org is a really cool model that I'd like to see more places in Canada adopt. That's my shout-outs. Couple more shout-outs from Samantha in a second. There's one more thing that I want to actually shout out to.
Sure.
TO Webfest this week announced a bunch of selections. So go check that list out and start binging as we speak. We'll actually put it up on Creatortown, all the things that are on YouTube already. Some of the shows haven't premiered yet, so they won't be on the list. But also, this week's podcast week. So we're going to have a bunch of interviews that are on the website you can check out, and it's with podcasters. So the Creatortown blog this week has interviews with Sean from the Creative Imbalance podcast, Alex from the Never Sleeps Network, also has Sammy from Girth Radio, who's our host right here at the Pacific Junction Hotel. So be sure to check out all of the creator spotlights. There's also a really cool feature that we put up that's about a successful crowdfunding campaign. So new horror web series is coming out. Check out that. They've got some good tips on crowdfunding and what they went through, so that's something to check out as well. Samantha, hold tight, because we're going to ask you for your shout-outs in just a minute. Who will Sam shout out? Dun, dun, dun. But first, it's time for Creatortown covers. Every week we spotlight a musician, and they give us their favorite cover here in Creatortown. This week we're hearing from singer-songwriter right here in Toronto, Sean William Clark, who's actually recording a new album right now, and you can follow him on Facebook, and he's posting all these cool photos in the studio. They're here at Curry's Music upstairs doing a ton of different shots and promos, and it's fun to watch him create it. So take a look at that. You can also check out his YouTube page where Sean did a ukulele cover like every day for like a year, and it's still up there. It's really cool to check out. He's got a playlist of his faves you should look at, and they're pretty awesome. But we've selected a CanCon throwback that he did. It's a Thursday deep cut Gord Downey's Trick Pony from Gord Downey's solo stuff. This is so CanCon. It's bleeding maple syrup. It's Sean William Clark with Mary Val doing Gord Downey's Trick Rider here on Creatortown.
My wild child, your night lights on, you're in your mild depths, the moon is on the lawn. Just make your friends while you're still young, before you can see through anyone. If you're trick riding in the rain, don't expect me to watch, don't ask me to explain. I'll be your friend, your last refuge. When things get weird and weird breaks huge, I'll stroke your hair, I'll dry your cheeks. When failures come and no one speaks, and if you're on a horse trick riding in the mud and rain, can't expect me to watch or ask me to explain. If you're on a horse trick riding in the mud and rain, don't make me watch or ask me to explain.
Yeah, that was great.
That was Sean William Clark with Mary Val doing Gord Downey's Trick Rider from Coke Machine Glow way back in the day. That is a complete throwback Thursday, and that's some deep CanCon. I really feel like Melanie Jolie should come to the studio right now and give us hugs.
Yes.
That was some deep CanCon. I love when people do the deep cuts off the album, so I'm always trying to find certain things like that. And every once in a while, I'm do the hits. Last week, there was an amazing cover of The Weeknd's Sidewalks. So check out all of our musical guests on the Creatortown YouTube page. We playlist them all, so you can take a look at everybody's vlogs. And be sure to check out their original stuff, too, okay? There's a lot of good original stuff that's on there, but we like to do the YouTube thing where people do their, actual covers thing. Sam, who are we shouting out?
I want to give out a shout out to, I love this series. If you like comedy and kind of like weird comedy, the Amazing Gail Pyle series is like, it's super strange and amazing. Like, it just, the title is right. It is very, very perfect. He
is an amazing Gail Pyle.
He's an amazing Gail Pyle, and he's like he like, you know, the shopping channel, and, you know, he runs a shopping channel. And guys, it's, I don't know if you want to add stuff to say that, like, just...
It's a really great web series, and it's one of the other things is to pay attention to those gents at LaRue Productions as well, is that the two creative teams that behind it, they've actually got it on not only CBC here in Canada, but it's also on CISO in the
US,
States.
yeah.
So it's also something for creators to pay attention to, because they're sort of, as we talked about the early bit of this podcast, we all kind of are paving the way of what this is going to look like for the next 10 years, and these guys are kind of ahead of the curve. So take a look at that team, take a look at the folks behind it.
Yeah,
Huge
very smart
shout-outs.
approach, yeah.
Yeah, huge shout-outs to them, and they're also a selection at this year's WebFest. So you'll be able to check them out at WebFest too and watch the series if you haven't already. But you got to see it on a big screen at the CN Tower, so beat
That's
that.
cool. Yeah.
Beat that.
That is cool.
It's intense.
It's intense.
How many do I get to shout out?
You can shout out as many as you want. I got nowhere to
Because
be.
I got so much love for people.
We're hoping that Elvis comes back around and we'll get some more drinks. That's good.
I think also for other people who love comedy, I'm super appreciative of shows that I think integrate culture without being a ginormous flag, and
Like waving a cab down of culture. Like, this is diverse.
but Yid Life Crisis is really funny. I know it's still two white guys, but like, but
Jewish people, that counts.
Yes, it does.
no, but the way they do actually speak Yiddish, and it's a funny organic way of actually bringing something else into it. And so yeah.
It's a great example in terms of how to write for this short form content too, like for web series platforms. That's actually something we've talked about in the past.
You said something really poignant there, and I literally swallowed really hard on my drink, so I'm just like, that'll be... once you get to the 3/4 mark of this podcast, you start forgetting you're actually being recorded.
Yeah.
So I hope that poignant...
Only at the 3/4 mark?
Yeah, no, probably in the beginning for me. The thing that's funny about that is that's been shouted out before, so that, like, the Life Crisis just gets a lot of love from the community, because I think they're not only did they do something interesting, but they've also done something where they've got a lot of their money up front from cultural institutions, which is a completely new way to think about how to fund your web series. Like, you know, are you going to go to a tourism board? Are you going to go to a cultural institution? Like, there are tons of different ways to get money, and we saw that last week when IPF got announced. Like, one of the things that really scares me about the modern web series that you and I didn't so much think about is, if we don't get a grant funding, I guess we won't do it. And that's really heartbreaking, because it's like, that's sort of the antithesis of why we all started doing web. It was because the grant system kind of failed a lot of young people, and now the grant system can fail a whole new generation of young people. So it's like, I really want people to reach out and do things in different ways and talk to the IWCC so they actually can look at things and go, oh, there's other ways to get this money. There's other ways to crowdfund. There's other ways to make this show a reality.
Yeah, no, I think they're brilliant, because they were. I feel like I remember hearing the creators talk about it. They wanted to revamp, like, Yiddish, like it was like a thing that no one knew about, and so of course other cultural community, like the community centers and things like that, were supportive of that. Like it's brilliant. It's so smart.
We got to get them in the Creatortown soon when they're visiting Toronto. They're out of Montreal, but. You know, we'll see what happens.
Sometimes, guys, when things are so smart, it makes me angry because I didn't come up with this.
You're like, I really wish I found that angle
I know.
first.
I was like, I'm dumb.
But one of the reasons why we started this podcast, and one of the reasons why I get kind of frustrated, you know, even within the communities, people have to start, like, leaning on each other. And how did you do that? And we do it pretty well here in Toronto, but I'm trying to, like, put that out. We're trying to put that out to the whole country and, like, give them a way into these kinds of conversations that we've had here in Toronto, right? How do you do stuff? How does this get made? How do I make this a reality? And I think that if we don't lean on each other, you're not going to see new voices get through the door.
I absolutely agree, and I think the biggest thing I see with new creators is that they're so afraid to ask for help or reach out. They're like, I don't want to bother anybody. And I'm just like, bother them. And if they say no, then move on. But most of the time, people who are really, really busy, they're not getting back to you not because they hate you. They're not getting back to you because they're busy. So follow up again. Yeah, literally, I've openly told people, and I'm pretty open about this, that, like, if you want to talk to me, email me.
The other thing too is, like, one of the things I think people really forget is we're also in Canada. Like, this isn't LA. Like, all of us understand the struggle. So if we got somewhere, we understand what it was like to be where you were at.
Exactly. It's pay it forward.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I think that also I really suggest for creators like yourself and creators like myself and people who have gone a few rounds through this system is to also if you're really busy, do the, hey, have you met Sam Wan? And so, like, Sam's on a break, she'll take this, and then when you're in heavy production, you're like, you should talk to Dante at WCC. Like, it's all this, like, networking thing that we can provide. And one of the jokes that I talked about when we talked about the IWCC, we were at Centennial College this week talking to kids for the IWCC, and I jokingly said, what is this? And I jokingly said, it's nepotism for people that don't have nepotism. Like, that's really what I want to create, right? It's the idea of when you get to the city, when you start out, how do you shorten the distance from your dream to seeing it on a screen? Because when you don't have people that you can lean on and ask questions to, it seems like a really long path. And also, you can waste your time in, like, really dumb directions because no one told you, oh, God, don't do that.
I know. And the biggest hurdle I think people always fall in is not following up. Like, I feel like I'll say, talk to me, talk to Dan, talk to other people. But you can lead a horse to water, and they're not going to, and if they don't drink.
Yeah.
Like,
But that's on them. All I can do
100%.
is, if we at least can create that network in this country so people
agree.
can at least have those options. If they don't take them, then they don't get to make a show.
I'm like, your fault.
Yeah, your fault.
Your fault, dude.
But
follow up.
when I came here, maybe you'll say the same thing. I didn't have a lot of incubation. I just kind of worked really, really hard and prayed. Like, I was like, oh, I hope this works out. But I didn't get, like, a lot of people from the industry being like, we'll help you out.
Yeah. Nope, me neither. I mean, like, I got into meeting people in the industry. That's a lie, maybe. I got into meeting people in the industry that would help me out because I got an acting gig. And then I made friends with crew and people like that. Like, just be really nice.
Everyone. By the way, everyone. Yeah, you don't know who on set is actually making the film next week. Yeah.
I guarantee you, don't just be nice to the producer and the director. Yeah. I guarantee you, the AD
Which is what
probably
most
wants.
people do.
Exactly. I bet you the AD wants to be a director. I bet you the gaffer wants to be a DOP, and they're more likely willing to help you on your next project than this person who's already.
So don't be nice people because you're nice people. Do it for your own selfish purposes. That's what we're trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Sim, thanks so much for dropping by Creatortown this week. We had a great conversation.
Thanks.
Let us know what's going on with you. Let us tweet out the magic that Sam Wan is making. And what's going on before we get out of here? You never told us about hanging out with Jason Priestley. How is Brandon? I want to know.
Jason Priestley is the coolest dude ever, and so is Cindy Sampson, his co-star.
Yeah, she's great.
I'm on Private Eyes right now on Global. I play a very quirky, another neurotic character called Zoe Chow. I'm the office assistant, the desk jockey, really, in all those criminal shows. I'm the one they're like, Zoe, tell us what's happening, and then I say lots and lots of exposition.
Hey, that's a hard job to do.
It's so hard to memorize.
I was going to say, that must be rough as an actor.
Oh, it's so hard to memorize. But she's also, I get the benefit of her being really fun as a character, so check that out. I'm also in another web series called Kristal Clear that got IPF funding, and it's going to be coming out in the spring.
Cool.
Oh,
I
that's
play
amazing.
the nemesis, guys. I get to be the...
Wait, I don't know about this project. Tell me a bit more about Kristal Clear.
So Kristal Clear got IPF funding, and it's about a social media star, a YouTuber, who turns out wakes up one morning and is invisible.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
And then I am...
That makes selfies hard.
Yeah, that makes selfies super hard. It's a perfect idea for a web series. It's shot so beautifully, and I play the nemesis, the other YouTuber, who is feeling a little inferior to her, but, like, definitely... I get to wear 5 different outfits and be really bitchy. I'm really excited about it.
And do you have to give lots of exhibition in that, too? You're invisible.
No, I don't. But she does. She plays herself. She plays herself as Kristal and her twin Kyle. So the actor actually does a little of an Orphan Black thing where she plays 2 characters.
Oh, cool.
Well, that's
So
awesome.
yeah,
And when's
keep
that
an
coming
eye
out, you
out for it.
thinking?
In the spring. There's some special effects stuff coming up. So
Oh,
just
awesome.
keep an eye out.
So we'll tweet that out for all of you folks to look at. We'll
Yeah.
take a look at Instagram and all that. So we'll keep you posted on Kristal Clear.
Mm-hmm.
When is the old Private Eyes airing now? Is it on right now? Can
It's
people
not
see it?
on yet. It's also in spring.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're just waiting on everything for you.
You're waiting on.
No wonder you
can
came to
still
Creatortown. You're waiting on everything right now.
You could still watch Sudden Master, guys, if you wanted to. That's still up. You can also watch Second Gen, all the episodes on City right now. Or you can follow me on @Ant. Nope, don't follow me that way.
Don't follow Sam @Ant. She is not your aunt. She will not be following you back.
At
Everyone's going to check at Ant right now, though. I feel like, is that a handle?
Too much Rattler, guys.
It's just some racist Trump supporter. Oh, I hate you, at Ant. Sorry.
My Instagram and my Twitter are the same. Sam NQ, N is in Nancy, Q is in Queen, Wan. At Sam NQ1.
Cool.
Follow me there.
Thank you so much for dropping by, Samantha.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I hope you come back soon. That's it for this week's Creatortown. Everybody, be sure to check out those TOF Fest selections and stay tuned. Remember, May 25th, 26th, 27th at the CN Tower. We hope to see you there. For Vince Case-Vimworthy, I'm Dan Spearin. Thank you to Sean William Clark for letting us spotlight his music this week. And we will see everybody next week, same place, same time, Thursdays on Creatortown.